Good morning or good afternoon, everybody who has joined us today for a presentation of Enefit Green Q2 results. Just a short reminder that after our presentation, you can also, or during the presentation rather, you can leave your questions to Q&A or chat of this team live, and then me and Veiko will answer all the questions. And of course, you can always send your questions to email investor@enefitgreen.ee, and then all your questions will be answered. We are really happy to be here today together with you and together with Veiko. My name is Aavo Kärmas, I'm CEO, and Veiko is our CFO, and then present our Q2 results and how everything has gone so far. Before going into the results, a few facts about Enefit Green and who we are. As of today, we are the largest wind producer in Baltic countries, but our home markets are not only the Baltics but also Finland and Poland, where we have our operations and developments currently under construction. And then we do have almost 20 or a bit more than 20 years of experience in renewables, which also allows us to implement our new updated strategy, which says that by 2026 our installed capacity will be 4 times bigger than it is currently. We will come to that a bit later on. And last but not least, of course, we are happy and we are proud that around 60,000 investors believe in Enefit Green, believe in our story, and believe in the industry. So this gives us a really good confidence that we are on the right path and try to or want to deliver what we have promised to our investors. But before moving to our results, just few facts, main facts or impacts what affect our activities or affected our activities in last quarter. So first of all, power prices. So the power prices around Baltic Sea region have been 2 to 3 times higher compared to previous period of 2021. So of course this is unfortunately situation for consumers, but we all know what are the reasons behind. First of all, of course, extremely high gas prices, but secondly also the lack of cheap production capacities in all our countries. So hence meaning that we all need more renewables in all our countries. And the second thing is a regulatory environment. As you can see, it's a quite busy slide here, but what does this show is that in most of our markets we see that the governments have actually taken really fast actions in order to bring more and more renewable capacities to a market as soon as possible. We see here a few examples from Estonia, as we have now new coalition in power who has came up with new initiatives how to increase the capacities in Estonia, for instance, to shorten the planning time or period for renewable capacities, or introducing new auctions and so on. The same goes for Latvia and Lithuania. For instance, in Lithuania, in July, the parliament passed a so-called breakthrough package, which is a combination of different legal acts with new initiatives how to boost renewables. And same Poland. And maybe for Poland, really important thing to highlight here is that the parliament, or actually the government, has submitted a proposal to parliament to eliminate existing restrictions for onshore wind. So far that it has been so that wind turbines couldn't be closer than 2 times of a tip height, but that hopefully this will be removed as soon as possible, and that opens also the onshore wind possibilities for us and everybody, of course, in Poland as well. And maybe last thing to mention here, what we have said also before, that we had a legal dispute in our co-production unit in Latvia called SIA Technological Solution, where local authorities have taken away our feed-in tariff. We lost in the first instance, but certainly we saw that not all, or let's say rather most of our explanations were not treated properly, and we have actually appealed to a second level of a court. So that is it from that slide. And if we move on, I mean, there are two things which have a really significant impact to our results. First of all, wind speed, as wind is as the largest part of our portfolio. So here you can see a comparison of first quarter of this year and also last year in Lithuania and Estonia. So basically what we can say is that the wind speed has remained on the same level as last year. So as we all know, usually the second and third quarter are the lowest wind speed quarters in a total year. So what we can say is that nothing extraordinary here. And the second thing what is affecting or has a great impact on our business, of course, is availability. And I'm really glad to see that all the availabilities of all our electrical power plants have been actually better compared to last year, including wind, solar, and also CHPs. So this good availability has helped us to produce more electricity compared to 2021. So here I would, of course, like to say great thanks to our operational and asset management team for a great job. And the last thing before we go into the figures is our new updated strategy 2026, which was approved by our supervisory board this May. So basically, this is all about growth, as Enefit Green is a growth-oriented company. Last year, when we met with you, we said that by 2025 we expect to grow our capacity up to 1100 megawatts. But according to our new strategy, we see that we can grow even faster. And by 2026, we expect to grow our capacity up to 1900 megawatts. And why? I mean, it's all about electrification. So we see that this is a keyword for coming years going forward. That the need for electricity or electricity consumption will grow. The electricity will substitute fossil fuels for instance, in transportation and also in heating sector, which will allow us and also other market players to grow renewable capacity very fast. And our main growth is coming from onshore wind. We expect to have an additional capacity of 800 megawatts by 2026, and also from solar with additional capacity of 600 megawatts. And our electricity production will grow up to 4.5 terawatt hours by 2026, which equals with, for instance, half of current Estonian consumption. And then why we believe that we are able to, or we will manage to do the growth is our strength. Of course, it is all about our team, both in operations and also in development. We do have a locally established development teams in all our countries who are supported with our great knowledge from current operations and asset management in order to develop our new projects in the most competitive way. The second strength is a kind of a good Enefit brand. Enefit brand is used by our parent company in all our countries to sell the electricity. What we see currently is that not currently, but actually it's more than 1 year already, that the need for long-term power purchase agreements has increased substantially, which will allow us to make investments for our renewable projects. So during the next 4 years, we expect to invest 1.5 billion euros in order to build all our solar and wind parks. And last but not least, as I also said, that we are really proud that 60,000 investors believe in this story and are together with us in this hopefully great journey. And now if we move on to what happened last quarter. So here on that slide, you can see that as of Q2 2021, every quarter we have added new capacities under construction. So as of today, 258 megawatt of wind and solar parks are under construction. But as I said, this is just the beginning in order to reach 1900 megawatts by 2026. So if we move on and see where this growth is coming, here is just an overview about the projects under construction. So this 258 megawatts, which was on a previous slide, so it consists of 4 wind parks, 2 in Lithuania, 1 in Estonia, and 1 in Finland, with total capacity of 211 megawatts. Followed by 3 solar parks in Poland, 2 in Poland and one in Estonia, with total capacity of 47 megawatts. So all in all those parks will be operational next year, which means that our installed capacity by the end of next year, will be 56% higher than it is today. And the total capex of those projects is around 285 million euros. And on this slide, we will now show you our near-term pipeline by the end of Q2 of next year. So you see here that we expect to make investment decision for additional capacity of 692 megawatts. So if we split it into 2, so first of all, in 2022, still we expect to make investment decision for solar and wind parks in the total capacity of 358 megawatts. So you can see it on a slide, and then also around 310 megawatts next year. Maybe what to highlight from here is a few things. First of all, Sopi and Tootsi wind parks. So in July, Enefit Green acquired the Tootsi wind project from our parent. So Sopi and Tootsi, they are actually will be developed in the same location. So and capacity of those two projects is 235 megawatts. So if those projects will be already commissioned, it will double automatically the current wind production in Estonia. And then secondly, Kelmė 2 and 3 wind parks in Lithuania with total capacity of 250 megawatts. So previously those were in our long-term pipeline, but now we have developed those projects further, and we see that by the end of first half of next year, those projects also would be awarded with final investment decision. So that means that all in all, by 2025, our installed capacity is around 1.4 gigawatts, or 1,407 megawatts to be precise. And on the top of that, we also do have our long-term pipeline, so which consists of 2 offshore wind parks and solar and onshore wind in capacity of 1,300 megawatts. So this first bucket is our kind of very dynamic, so where we have different projects in all our home markets for solar and onshore wind. So some projects we bring further, as Kelmė 2 and 3 was a good example. Some projects will drop off, some projects will come as a new one. So this is kind of our everyday business. And then of course, if we have any news with certain projects from that pipeline moving forward, we will of course disclose it also to you. So what have been our latest developments in offshore? So Liivi offshore is still owned by our parent company, but Enefit Green has a right to participate in this project in the future. Currently, all environmental studies are ongoing, and still the investment decision date has remained the same as shown here. And then Hiiumaa offshore wind farm project, which is owned by Enefit Green. So latest news is that currently the state is doing analysis, which should be finished by the end of this year, which would say that what kind of a development method should be used in the future in order to be able to have a kind of maritime sea plan in place by 2029, or even a bit before that, in order that we can make investment decision for that project as well. So all in all, we still see that we have quite a sizable portfolio of near and long-term projects, which would allow us to grow our capacity up to 4,800 megawatts in the longer run. So saying that, I will stop here for a while and give it over to Veiko, who will elaborate more on the figures.
Thank you. So, figures for the last quarter. First of all, I think that to summarize the highlights, it has been a strong quarter, so hopefully the investors can be happy with the results. So of course, with all the availability that we have had, and quite a bit better than last year, as well as the wind conditions we've had, actually the electricity production growth has been 6%. We generated 270 gigawatt hours of power last quarter, and of course, as I mentioned already about the power price environment, then that is really also pushing our revenues higher. So altogether, we have earned 47.3 million euros of revenues the last quarter, which is 30% above last year's. Also, EBITDA has been 30.7 million euros, which is 51% even higher, and net profits 16.9 million euros. So we'll go through slide by slide and segment by segment, but yeah, the key highlights, of course, being the investment decisions, strategy, and also the dividend distribution. So firstly, if we look at the segments and the revenues, then total revenues have been 11 million more than last year. So a few instances here, with wind segment benefiting the most from higher power prices, what we have seen over the last quarter. Then CHP has benefited from that, but also on the flip side, pellet sales is sometimes chunky, and then there is one shipment shift from June to July, which we completed by now. So this actually has reduced quite a bit the revenue side, but having less impact on the EBITDA. Finally, solar services have also seen volume growth over the last quarter compared to the year ago. So essentially all segments performing reasonably well. In case we look at the EBITDA now, then we have done 10.4 million euros more than last year, so 30.7 as mentioned. Again, the main impact coming from the power price changes, 11.5 million euros in total. We have also seen other revenues growing and some increase in the Estonian production quantity. On the other hand, the pellet sales, as mentioned, has reduced sales revenues, but on the other hand, it has also brought about a change in inventory, as we've produced more pellets and now have them in inventory for delivery in Q3. So all in all, these impacts actually balance out quite nicely, and the revenues have and the inventories have benefited strongly the EBITDA. Now on the cost side, I think deserves to mention that the variable expenses have grown. We have higher biomass prices that we have used for pellets and also for the CHP production. Also, high electricity cost actually brings about higher balancing energy costs for us on one hand, and then secondly, we have actually changed the accounting principles in this year, that we intraday Nord Pool balancing trades now show both purchases and sales, before we were netting them out. So there is more revenues as well as costs, but net impact is the same. Finally, also as the solar services revenues have grown, then so have grown also the impact or the inputs. So we have procured more panels and more inverters to tender for these. So client needs, so that also brings variable expenses growth. On the fixed expenses side, we have increased labor costs. We have increased our development team. Also, given the environment for the earnings then of people, then we have seen also some growth of salaries. Plus development-related costs have also been higher in the recent quarter, and this way, of course, is a natural byproduct of trying to develop fast. So if we go segment by segment, then in wind energy segment, our largest, we can see that the production in Lithuania was flat, whereas in Estonia we managed to grow by 8% even due to the slightly higher wind and better availability. but also the higher power price has an impact in Estonia for now. So there you can see that we have earned 66% more on average per megawatt hour. In Lithuania, the power prices or electricity sales prices have been flat, as we have most of our assets in feed-in tariff regime, which are fixed price sales. However, it's good to note that with two of these wind parks, namely Šilalė and Moškiai, which would have come out of subsidy next year, we have actually decided to come out of subsidy earlier. So this is expected to start having an impact on our revenues from September onwards. And we're considering also with the other parks whether to do the same. Finally, here on the expenses side, we have been actually performing very well. We have had stable operating expenses, especially the recent quarter. We have actually even had less than last year. So of course, in time, the inflationary environment will have an impact. It will feed through into the operating expenses via the full service agreements as well. But of course, we're trying to do everything we can to contain that. For now, no impact. And altogether, EBITDA 20 million euros, more than half higher than last year. Co-generation segment, here you can see on the bottom left, the revenue split that the light green is missing quite sizably. So that is the pellet sales, as I've mentioned. Production levels have been slightly increasing, 4% higher heat energy and 6% higher power. But of course, the power prices have had an impact here. Again, the electricity revenues being higher, both in Estonia as well as in Latvia, where the processing plant is receiving today power prices. Altogether, EBITDA growing by 3.3 million euros in the quarter, so nicely 44% above the last year's levels, and fixed cost we have managed to have a good lead on as well, that these are stable. Finally, 35% of EBITDA then going from this segment. Last but not least, solar segment, which I've always said that we want to do more of, and we have sort of had a very small share of EBITDA. Then finally this quarter, it's a good result, 4% already from EBITDA, and it has been a good production quarter, 29% up, more sun in Poland than in Estonia. Also, power prices have been higher. Plus, what has helped the revenues is the increase in solar services volume in our new markets, and EBITDA, of course, mainly benefiting from higher production results. With solar services, we have also made a change as of August. So we have focused in terms of solar services only on these assets that we own, and actually the turnkey services where we would just be selling on the panels and inverters. There we have put our focus away from that, and this will be carried on by Enefit Connect. So this is essentially on the solar segment. Having more focus definitely helps us to achieve higher growth as well in terms of our earnings. Right, finally, bottom line, 16.9 million euros of net profits being earned last quarter, sorry, and 6 cents per share. What to bring out? I mean, everything that we've said before, but in addition to that, we had a bit of financial income one-off from the sale of minority stake in wind controller. We own 10%, so that has found a good strong new owner, which we're happy about. And finally, financial expenses have been also lower this quarter, mainly due to ourselves actually having lower loan principals than last year. Actually, lower average interest margin as well, as we've renegotiated these end of last year. And finally, as we are in the construction phase, then some of the interest expenses are also being capitalized, hence less going to costs. So in terms of corporate income tax, deserves to be mentioned that as we have paid out quite a large dividend this year, so 39.9 million, then a sizable amount of that is from Estonian profits. And in case you distribute the Estonian profits, then of course you have the Estonian income tax on corporations. So hence the 4 million euros higher income tax expense for this quarter, which is then in addition to the dividends that we have paid out. In terms of cash flows, so reasonably expected performance here. In terms of investments, we have expected these to pick up, and now last quarter we have invested 40.9 million euros. We have laid cornerstones in 3 countries, in Finland, Estonia, and in Lithuania, and expect to be carrying on doing that. So of course the investment cycle is such that it's quarter by quarter is increasing, and really main investments, as you can see in the bottom right, we have brought out is Akmenė, Šilalė and Tolpanvaara. plus also Sopi PV as well as the newest investment decision that we have made in May. In terms of our slides moving less. Okay, now it's moved. In terms of our capital contracts, so we currently have around 150 million euros of gross debt. So in terms of net debt EBITDA, we are still at 0.4 times, so which is much lower than our sort of long-term target 4 times, and during construction phase target 5 times net debt EBITDA. So it means that we can take on quite a bit of more debt to build out our capacities. And currently we have undrawn credit facilities 180 million. So we expect to be drawing 130 of that investment loans in third quarter. So this is what we see our investment plan foresees. Slightly higher average effective interest rate, so 1.3%, as small part of our portfolio is funded by Polish zloty loan, the Polish assets. Then Polish interest rates have been going up, but also in order to counter the potential rise in euro-based interest rates, we have signed interest swaps essentially on all our investment loans we expect to take out this year. So these are now fixed by the end of their lifetime, whether it's 26, 28 or 34, essentially by 1%, the Euribor plus then the margin. So this we believe has been prudent and a good transaction to reduce our risk in terms of the interest rate going up. And finally, also a very important point, power purchases, power purchase agreements, and this is something that is relevant for our portfolio to understand well. We are increasing our sales of electricity to the third parties to actually guarantee cash flow for new developments, but also to have some security for our operating assets. And really currently we have 3.8 terawatt hours of PPA signed for the period of 22 to 26. You can see it on the graph as well, the orange bars representing the PPAs. And on average, the lock price is 50 euros per megawatt hour almost. And if you think about prices, or you have followed us through the years and quarters, then these have been growing up. So essentially a year ago, perhaps these were 40 euros per megawatt hours. End of last year, perhaps towards 50 euros per megawatt hour, and this year we have actually signed PPAs of in the range of 80 to 100 euros per megawatt hour, depending on the tenor. And actually most of the PPAs this year we've done with external market participants, so some of them also with Eesti Energia. Yeah, and finally 27 plus, we have also coverage for our portfolio in the longer term. So actually 7 years after 26, we have 3 terawatt hours of power sold forward for an average price of 47.7 euros per megawatt hour. Good, I think we've covered pretty much all I had to say.
Yeah, thanks, Veiko. So, and then now the summary of the Q2. So all in all, solid financial results delivered, and results were due to, of course, higher power prices, but also good availabilities of our power plant. So thanks very much once again to our team for delivering good results. Second thing to highlight certainly is our strategy 2026. So it's all about growth. We see more opportunities for growing faster than we saw it, for instance, one year ago. So we currently have 258 megawatt of capacity under construction, and as we showed that new investment decisions will be followed second half of this year, and also going forward to 2023 and onwards. And in July, we acquired the 74 megawatt of Tootsi wind park project in Estonia. So this is currently the tender is ongoing, and expect to make investment decision second half of this year. And then maybe last thing to mention is that unfortunately our board member Linas Sabaliauskas, who was responsible for our development activities, has decided to leave the company due to personal reasons. So I would like to thank you, Linas, for this more than 3 years contribution to our growth story, and it was really excellent job what Linas and his team has made in order to reach where we are today. So as of today, we have announced a public tender or public recruitment for that position. So saying that, we'd like to thank you for listening, and now we are ready to take your questions. So I see that we have few here. So okay, let's take the first one. Our plans to pay dividends next year?
Yes, there are. So we have said our dividend policy is 50% payout from the net profits. So we plan to stick to that, and as the first half of the year has been really good, we have actually had about twice more net profits than last year. Then yeah, we expect to be paying dividends.
So what is a target DE level in the end of 2026?
Yeah, debt equity. Maybe, yeah, we don't actually set ourselves debt equity targets as such, but I can explain how we think about it. And as we do new investment decisions, we quite often do it in such a way that we do 60% from debt and 40% from equity. Altogether, given our existing assets, we are gearing to our 50-50 capital structure. So this is what we see as being reasonable assumption. However, of course, it depends on the earnings, what our profits are. This increases the equity, and much more. We actually keep an eye on net debt to EBITDA ratio, which is our main financial policy target, where we said that in operational phase 4 times is our desired level, and in the construction phase we can go up to 5 or even above 5 times net debt to EBITDA. So actually there is quite a bit of room to date on additional debt.
Why there is so big rise in labor cost and other costs?
Good question. So it is 3 things really. I mean, on labor side, so we have more people than we had last year. We have added to our development team. Secondly, it is actually also the growth in salaries, because the market is growing, and it's extremely important for us to retain the talent that we have to carry out our plan. So of course that comes with increased salaries as well. And then finally, there is a bit of one-off in the second quarter as well for last year's bonuses. So that has increased it a bit, but all in all, of course, people are our most important assets, if you can even call them that. So it's that is something we believe important. On other costs, we have mentioned biomass costs going up. I mean, this is unfortunately a trend that comes from any fuel today going up. So gas is driving also biomass prices up. Let's see how long this lasts. I think we don't have a good prediction here, but we just need to procure as well as we can always. Secondly, it's other costs. Among other costs are also balancing energy costs, which is driven by the power market price. And thirdly, perhaps also I went through that solar services has been seeing growth in terms of revenues, but the flip side of that is that there is also variable costs involved in order to install panels to clients. So these are the main components there.
Thank you. So what is your expectation on the dividend yield based on current market price in the end of 2026?
Right, that's a tough one. So we know today that the stock is trading perhaps around 3 or 4.3. We have paid dividends 15.1 cents per stock. So we can calculate what it has been, right? And if we have made 50% more or 2 times more in terms of the profits this year, then we don't see the future whether we will be doing the same way in the second half. So but of course one can try to calculate it, but I think it's probably best left to the analysts to opine on that.
Okay, so it's again about dividends. Going forward, how you see earnings dividends developing year on year? How Tootsi Wind Park acquisition will impact year or Q earnings?
So, earnings we expect to be growing as we make new investments, of course. If earnings grow, then of course our dividends with the 50% payout policy will grow as well. In terms of Tootsi, I think it's today no different really than other developments that we have. So it doesn't receive any special support scheme from the government. So it is just another project which is construction ready, which we expect to be putting into construction as soon as we can.
So what the team thinks about finance results of Q2 2022 if we compare them with Q1 2022?
Well, I think we've been doing well. This is really the answer. So what we can do is have a good availability. You know, electricity prices and wind conditions we don't control. We just need to make sure that the prices are there, the turbines are there to produce. And I think we have made progress with our growth plans. So in really, from my side, I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, all the team is happy, and thanks for the team once again. And yeah, one thing is what was in the past. So currently we're looking figures from the past, but for me, more important is that what the future will look like. And here I'm really happy that during this 1 year we've been managing to deliver what we promised to our investors and to ourselves just exactly 1 year ago. About competition, do you feel it? Your advantage and disadvantage, and what's your advantage and where's disadvantage compared to Enefit Green? Of course, the competition is there, so we see that competition is also picking up. So that as we show that there are a lot of opportunities in all our home markets, but that when it comes to our strengths, just to name just main of them, first of all, because our competitors are of course different. So we do see that there are energy companies, utility companies developing renewables, there are investment funds, pension funds, or there are other companies, so on and so forth. But what we see as our strength, first of all, is our business model. So we are vertically integrated. So we plan, we develop, we execute, and we operate all our assets ourselves. We have a knowledge more than 20 years. Secondly is our in-house operation and asset management team with really high skills on data management, data analysis, focusing mostly on both, I mean, preventive, but more and more also predictive maintenance, helping our operation guys. And then third one is our in-house and locally present development teams with experience of how to develop renewables. So putting together our operational skills and also development skills, we see a lot of synergies coming out of that. I mean, both for our existing assets, but also for our new assets, what we will bring online, so that when we do investment decisions, that we are done in the most competitive way. And then last but not least, I would like to highlight here is our main shareholder, Eesti Energia or Enefit Group, who is represented in our home markets with energy sales, basically sales teams. So Enefit is a strong brand, and actually Enefit allows us, or sales actually allows us to get access to customers in order to sign those long-term power purchase agreements. As Veiko mentioned, that a bit more than 1 year ago, it started to pick up here, and it's really, we see that the trend is there. So there is a need for more and more long-term PPAs. So all in all, this is what we can consider as our strength compared to many other players in the market. So, any benefits for Enefit Green investors for choosing Enefit family products, electricity, solar, etc.? No, I mean, there is no kind of special benefits to shareholders in that respect. So
maybe it's just the benefit of having a good counterparty. I mean, strong and solid counterparty of Eesti Energia who delivers on their promises. So maybe that is something, but it's no tangible financial benefits.
So, Pasi, are you now slightly behind the growth target because final investment decisions was a small figure in H1 2022? I'm not so sure that maybe one project which has moved a bit further is a Kelme 80 megawatt of onshore wind project. So currently the tenders are ongoing, and we expect to get results. I think it was the end of September thereabout. So we expect to make investment decision after that. So all the rest, I'm just now talking top of my head, has been as planned.
Mm-hmm. So and then, I mean, of course, the plan was originally to build out 1100 megawatts until 2025. So, that's roughly, 30% per year growth, perhaps if you take 4 years and only 2.3 times higher capacity. Now we're saying, well, instead of 4 years, we take 5 years, but we do 4 times as much. So that's almost double the growth. So on one hand, perhaps one project has moved, but on the other hand, actually, the growth pipeline has taken much more ambitious targets. So there we're quite happy about pursuing that.
Yeah, and maybe just to remind that we have brought 2 projects, those Kelme 2 and 3 projects, closer than they were before. So it's another additional 250 megawatt of onshore wind capacity. Okay, next question. What is the current price level in wind power PPA market?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as mentioned previously, it may have been 40, perhaps 50. Now what we are seeing is that we can sign at higher prices, perhaps 80 to 100. I think it's important to note as well that it always depends that whether you sell the as produced, or whether you sell baseload power, whether you sell the power only when the wind park starts operating, perhaps 2 years down the line, or whether you include something from the operating assets, which we can do and which we do. So we combine operating and development sometimes. So it a bit depends. But in our case, where we have been doing this over the last, say, 6 months, so then it has been in the range of 80 to 100 euros per megawatt.
Okay, so why there are no projects being built or planned in Latvia? Yeah, I mean, before answering, I mean, what we do is that we show 1 year ahead. So that those are really the projects where we feel confident or more comfortable that those projects will receive investment decision. But answering your question, yes, there are also onshore wind and solar projects in our long-term pipeline. So that will happen in maybe second half of 2023 or 24 in Latvia as well. So currently we are in early stage. I mean, either we have secured the land rights or connection rights, and of course, if we develop those projects further, we will of course disclose them after. I mean, we have reached to a next phase. So Latvia certainly is one of our key markets. The next one. Great to see investments in increasing the capacity. Can you spend some time describing your energy customer strategy? EI, who are your customers for a targeted 2026 capacity? I mean, what we do is that we sell our electricity to Nord Pool power market, and as Veiko described, that we also sign long-term power purchase agreements. But this is not only with Eesti Energia, but also other counterparties in the market as well. We have already done it for in a couple of cases. So we do not sell electricity directly to end consumers. Expect some solar solutions where Veiko mentioned that where we make investment at customer site and either have a rental solution or direct line solution to the customer.
Perhaps more philosophically speaking, I think it's important for us that this long-term power market develops, that there is client need for long-term power, and whether this is represented by Eesti Energia, Ignitis, Latvenergo, Alexela, Eesti Gas, whoever of the market participants, we don't fully mind. But yeah, so in order to develop like we are doing and others are doing the windmills or wind production in the area, if there is client need that is helpful, and today we see it's client want to sign the long-term agreements, and we're very happy about it. So that helps to develop more.
These were 2 million euro cost of maintenance and spare parts for production and new normality. What we see per quarter also in future.
Material and spare parts. So I think this is one peculiarity from this quarter that stands out surely, and it is to do with the turnkey solutions. So as we sell to the client, turnkey solutions essentially solar panels, inverters, and installation. So this comes with high material costs. So this is a low margin activity. As mentioned, we don't plan to do that anymore from Q3. So I think it's not the new normality. So in the future, as long as we invest ourselves, then these would not, of course, be not going through the P&L, but rather into investments and then earn return afterwards.
Yeah. And there is another question, just to confirm, has this postponed pellet delivery from Q2 already happened in Q3?
Yeah, first week of July.
Are you expect additional emission of stock for financing growth?
Not today. We have seen that when devising this strategy of reaching 4 times higher production capacity by 2026, that we can do it from operational cash flow as well as external loans and sort of debt capital, so to speak, and carry on paying dividends. So we don't see actually a need to raise additional equity for that.
So next one, what are your expectations about energy prices in core markets for next 3 years?
No, difficult. Yeah, I mean, it is. No, we understand how the prices form, I think, first of all. So we understand that there is lack of wind production, solar production, low cost-based production, and the prices are driven by gas, also coal to an extent. So we understand that this winter will be tough, next year will be tough, I think, everywhere in Europe, pretty much. That's what the market prices are saying. So let's see how long this lasts, and we don't know that. All we can do is build out faster, more the windmill and solar solution.
So company's asset turnover ratio is not high, and it is around 0.3 to 0.4. Knowing that company have almost 3 times more total assets than total liabilities, are you planning to use them in order to increase revenue?
Well, our assets are of fixed type, right? These are long-term assets. Today, our asset level is total assets roughly 880 million, if I remember correctly. We earn certain revenues on that, and these revenues will be earned for 30 years. So in a way, it's not very necessary for us to actually achieve faster asset turnover. So the revenues are there based on market prices and production. So I think it's maybe different in different industries where you have maybe 5-year, 10-year assets where you need to earn the return faster. But in our case, we're fine with that.
So which do you have difficulties now? I would rather say that it's rather not difficulties but challenging. I mean, challenges that I think that it's all about our development pipeline, because the environment is very, very dynamic. So you never know what's going to happen next tomorrow. But knowing our team and how dedicated they are and how passionate they are, so actually I do not see any difficulties. So that it's just about us, at how good we are and how we manage our pipeline. I don't know, Veiko, maybe you want to add something to that.
Not a lot. I mean, it's just perhaps more work, given there is a lot of projects we have ongoing, a lot of tenders we have ongoing. I mean, sometimes, given that there has been a Russian aggression against Ukraine, I mean, certain materials perhaps have become more expensive and some prices have gone up. So we have to be smart about the way how we tender. So yeah, it's perhaps more work, but I think all so far according to our plans.
So about Latvia, once again, do I remember right that you had a cooperation with Södra? How is that evolving? Yes, absolutely right. We have a strategic partnership with Södra in Latvia, as we are our largest landowners or forest owners in Latvia. And as of today, we have signed an agreement with Södra to develop 2 wind parks on their land plot. So currently those 2 projects, I mean, are, and as I said before, in early development stage, but still moving forward. As the new Estonian government mentioned reducing stake in Enefit Green even further? Could we expect SPO already this year? Actually, the mandate has been there since 2017. That this Energia has a right to sell minority share of Enefit Green up to 49%. But as Veiko said previously, that currently we see that we can manage our investment, long-term investment, or our growth plan with no extra additional equity. This is maybe the answer. Are you planning to expand into other markets, not only in the Baltic countries and Poland? No, not really. So we see that the environment in all our home markets is quite challenging, quite interesting for us. We see there are a lot of opportunities to grow renewables and have our focus there. Could you comment on upcoming winter and potential energy shortage in Europe and the Baltics?
Well, again, tough to comment exactly as in the case of what the power prices will be. I mean, it's I think realistic that there will be high prices. I think it's realistic that there will be, various kinds of fuels being burned, be that gas, coal, oil shale in Estonian case, also biomass, pellets, whatever really. So I think it's, I'm sure we'll get through this. The question is that, how high the prices will be, but in the end, I think Europe will manage.
Okay, it seems that there is no more questions. So thanks very much for good questions, your participation. And once again, just as a reminder, to please send your questions anytime you wish to email investor@enefitgreen.ee. So thank you very much, and then see you already next time, and enjoy the summer.
Thank you.